This year at NASA. In 2012, NASA continued to implement America's ambitious space exploration program, carrying out the first ever commercial mission to the International Space Station, advancing the systems needed to send humans deeper into space, and landing the most sophisticated rover on the surface of Mars.
Touchdown confirmed. We're safe on Mars.
Following a daring plunge through the Martian atmosphere billed as 7 minutes of terror, the Mars Science Laboratory's Curiosity rover made a successful on-target landing on the red planet in Gale Crater.
It's a huge day for the nation. It's a huge day for all of our partners that have something on Curiosity. And it's a huge day for the American people.
For us, being able to land something in larger and larger measures with this capability will come the ability to land humans.
Many new technologies had to work in perfect succession and perfect synchronization for this to happen.
Hi, I'm Babak Firdousi of the Mars Science Laboratory team here at JPL. I'm at the Control Center for Curiosity, where we command the rover and track data from Mars. And you're watching This Year at NASA.
Curiosity has checked out the 10 science instruments it'll use on its 2-year prime mission to search for signs of microbial life on Mars. And announcements in 2012 indicate more exploration of Mars is in NASA's future.
NASA has selected a new mission set to launch in 2016 that will take the first look into the deep interior of Mars to see why the red planet evolved so differently from Earth as one of the solar system's rocky planets. The InSight mission will place instruments on the Martian surface to investigate whether the core of Mars is solid or liquid like Earth's.
Understanding the interior structure, the interior processes and history of Mars is really fundamental to understanding the history and the formation of the solar system and of our own planet as well.
Science news from the American Geophysical Union's 2012 fall meeting in San Francisco was headlined by NASA's announcement of a new, robust, multi-year Mars program that will feature a new Red Planet rover set to launch in 2020.
While 2020 may seem a long way off, it's really not. Curiosity was about a decade in the works. We have a tremendous amount of systems engineering and even spare parts left from the MSL chassis, and those are really the enabling things that allow us to do this.
The 2020 mission will gather new science data about Mars and serve as the next step towards meeting President Obama's goal of sending humans to Mars in the 2030s.
And launch of the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket.
NASA helped make historic advances in commercial spaceflight in 2012. Space Exploration Technologies, one of 2 American companies participating in the agency's Commercial Orbital Transportation Services program to supply the International Space Station, first completed a demonstration test flight to the ISS in May.
A huge sensation. Looks like we got us a Dragon by the tail.
Second stage capture is complete.
I just want to take a moment to congratulate all of you on a superb effort today. I think you know it, but you made history today and have firmly locked the future direction of American space program in place.
Then in October, SpaceX and NASA teamed up for a space flight first. In a historic moment for the nation, SpaceX successfully launched its Falcon 9 rocket and Dragon cargo craft from Florida's Cape Canaveral Air Force Station on the first ever contracted cargo resupply flight to the International Space Station, the CRS-1 mission, the first of 12 such flights under NASA's Commercial Resupply Services contract, also marks the return of America's capability to independently resupply the orbiting laboratory.
Capture complete. Looks like we've tamed the Dragon. We're happy she's on board with us. SpaceX starts a whole generation of commercial spacecraft coming up here for resupply, and one of the most interesting and unique aspects of this vehicle and its follow-on will be that it can bring stuff back to Earth, and that's really important for the advancement of spaceflight.
The Freedom Star, once used to recover shuttle rocket boosters, is now outfitted as a floating high-tech radar and camera platform. Inside a huge metal clamshell is a mobile optical system on a gyroscope-like tracking mount. During launch, the system will be focused skyward to take images of the SpaceX Falcon rocket and its Dragon capsule as far as 200 miles away.
It's like standing and looking through a soda straw and trying to capture and see a bird flying through that soda straw.
Then imagine that soda straw bobbing on a boat off the northeastern coast of the U.S. and seas that could swell up to 20 feet.
Another company, Orbital, progressed towards its demo flight to the ISS, targeted for the upcoming year. Another important milestone in NASA's partnership with industry to deliver cargo to the International Space Station has been reached at the Wallops Flight Facility. A test version of Orbital Sciences Corporation's Antares rocket rolled out to the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport's Launchpad 0A. Antares will carry Orbital's Cygnus cargo module to the ISS.
I'm Nils Larson, Chief Pilot at NASA's Dryden Flight Research Center, and today we're chasing Sophia's return to flight. And you're watching This Year at NASA.
NASA also took the next steps in the effort to launch Americans from U.S. soil once more, announcing new Space Act agreements in August with 3 American companies to design and develop the next generation of U.S. human spaceflight capabilities to low Earth orbit.
These companies are Sierra Nevada Corporation, Space Exploration Technologies, and the Boeing Company.
It is a capability that includes the spacecraft, the launch vehicle, the ground operations, as well as the flight operations. It's an entire mission cycle and doing the design work for that entire mission cycle. So we call it CCICAP for short.
Operations software for the Crew Space Transportation, or CST-100 spacecraft, under development by Boeing, has undergone its preliminary design review. The CST-100, a capsule-shaped reusable spacecraft, will carry up to 7 people or a combination of people and cargo to the International Space Station and elsewhere in low Earth orbit.
United Launch Alliance has reached the final milestone in its development of a commercial spacecraft for transporting astronauts to low Earth orbit. Technical experts from ULA and NASA completed their assessment of whether ULA's Atlas V rocket launch hardware would keep the crew safe during launch and ascent. 2 of 3 newly funded NASA commercial crew partners, Boeing and Sierra Nevada, will use the Atlas V as their launch vehicle.
And the Sierra Nevada Corporation's Dream Chaser spacecraft has passed a new milestone of its own. A test called a captive carry was performed successfully at Rocky Mountain Metropolitan Airport in Colorado. This test, used to validate ground and flight operations and flight characteristics of the Dream Chaser, employed an engineering test article and a Sky Crane helicopter.
Hi, I'm NASA astronaut Kevin Ford, commander of the Expedition 34 crew aboard the International Space Station. We've celebrated more than a dozen years of permanent human presence in this amazing, out-of-this-world laboratory and are wrapping up an incredible year of achievement here on orbit. I would like to say to all of our viewers, you're watching This Year at NASA.
In 2012, NASA and its international partners celebrated 12 years of permanent human habitation on the International Space Station. No fewer than a dozen new inhabitants spent up to 6+ months aboard the world's only laboratory in microgravity and conducting research to benefit all on Earth and help prepare future generations of explorers to safely travel farther into space than any human has before.
The ball is out.
Expedition 32 flight engineers Sonny Williams of NASA and Aki Hoshide of the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency completed the installation of a spare main bus switching unit, or MBSU, to the truss of the International Space Station during a 6-hour, 28-minute spacewalk. Problems installing the spare unit during an initial spacewalk on August 30th necessitated the crew fabricate tools with which they could complete their task on this latest EVA.
The Glenn Research Center recently hosted media representatives at its Space Power facility. There, inside the Clean Room High Bay facility, a new communications test bed that'll fly on the International Space Station was going through its checkout. The Space Communications and Navigation, or SCAN, testbed will be the first space hardware for exploring the promise of software-defined radio technology.
The interesting part of this SCAN testbed are its 3 software-defined radios. These are radios that can be completely reconfigured on orbit by software. That means new operating environments, new applications that will change the characteristics of how it communicates.
An unpiloted Russian resupply ship loaded with almost 3 tons of food, fuel, and supplies linked up to the International Space Station just 6 hours after its launch from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. The technique could be used to similarly shorten a Soyuz vehicle's route to the station, thereby improving crew comfort as well as extending the life of the return vehicle while docked to the ISS.
Astronaut Scott Kelly has been selected by NASA to begin a 1-year mission aboard the International Space Station in 2015. Joining Kelly on the ISS will be Russian cosmonaut Mikhail Konyenko. The pair will launch aboard a Russian Soyuz spacecraft from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan in spring 2015. Their 12-month stay aboard the world's only laboratory in microgravity will provide new data about how the human body reacts and adapts to the harsh environment of space.
Hi, I'm TJ Creamer, one of the NASA astronauts privileged to serve aboard your International Space Station during Expeditions 22 and 23. I'm also a Payload Operations Director serving here at the Payload Operations Integration Center, Marshall Space Flight Center, managing science on board Space Station 24/7. And you are watching This Year at NASA.
This year at NASA saw steady progress made in the development of Orion, the agency's new spacecraft, and the Space Launch System, NASA's next-generation heavy-lift rocket.
Today, NASA and Kennedy Space Center are again lifting our sights and lifting our spirit to new heights.
The first Orion spacecraft destined for orbit arrived at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida to begin processing for a flight test in 2014. The flight test, called Exploration Flight Test 1, or EFT-1, will not carry any people into space during the mission. Instead, it will be loaded with a wide variety of instruments to evaluate how it behaves during launch, in the vacuum of space, and through the searing heat of re-entry.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to Mars. We know that the Orion capsule is a critical part of the system that is going to take us there. And so we're working on it.
NASA engineers at the Stennis Space Center have set a new test record for the J2X power pack. The 1,350-second test on the A1 test stand broke the previous record of 1,150 seconds, set earlier this summer.
3, 2, 1, release.
The team of engineers working on development of the Orion multi-purpose crew vehicle and its components conducted the first vertical drop test of the 18,000-pound capsule at Langley Research Center's Hydro Impact Basin. Swing drop testing, during which Orion entered the water at an angle, was conducted last summer to certify it for water landings. Changing the angle of the drop test to vertical will help NASA more accurately predict Orion's landing loads.
The landmark Vehicle Assembly Building at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida is getting a renovation so it can remain a fixture of America's space program. The VAB needs improvement on a grand scale to service new launchers expected to debut in the next few years. The new designs include the Space Launch System, a massive rocket intended to return astronauts to deep space. The building also will be set up to host commercial rockets that are much smaller.
The massive aluminum adapter rings being built by engineers at the Marshall Space Flight Center will be used to connect Orion to the Delta IV rocket used to power the EFT-1 flight. But the same design will also be used on Space Launch System flights. The adapter rings are being designed once for both applications as part of NASA's aggressive pursuit of affordable solutions for the human exploration of space. The Michoud Assembly Facility played host to SLS Industry Day to help suppliers and other businesses better acquaint themselves with NASA's acquisition strategies. More than 90 companies and 40 government entities explored partnership opportunities with the Space Launch System program.
Hi, I'm Roy Malone, Director of the NASA Marshall Space Flight Center Michoud Assembly Facility in New Orleans, Louisiana. Please pardon our dust as we prepare the facility to manufacture large components of the new SLS rocket. You're watching This Year at NASA.
2012 was a remarkable year for NASA science. Observations of other celestial bodies, as well as Earth, yielded new and valuable insight to help us better understand the origins of the universe and our home planet. Using NASA's Hubble Space Telescope, astronomers have seen further back in time than ever before. An ambitious Hubble survey of a patch of sky known as the Ultra Deep Field, or UDF, uncovered a previously unseen population of 7 primitive galaxies that formed more than 13 billion years ago, when the universe was less than 3% of its present age. The deepest images to date from Hubble yield the first statistically robust sample of galaxies that tells how abundant they were close to the era when galaxies first formed. Scientists with NASA's Messenger mission say new observations made by the spacecraft confirm a long-held theory that the polar regions of Mercury harbor an abundance of water ice and other frozen volatiles. Messenger, which stands for Mercury Surface Space Environment Geochemistry and Ranging, is the first spacecraft to orbit the solar system's innermost planet.
Astronomers have found an extraordinary galaxy cluster, one of the largest objects in the universe, that is breaking several important cosmic records. Observations of the Phoenix Cluster, located about 5.7 billion light-years from Earth, with NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory, the National Science Foundation's South Pole Telescope, and 8 other world-class observatories may force astronomers to rethink how these colossal structures and the galaxies that inhabit them evolve. NASA's Kepler mission has wowed again. The spacecraft that stares at and detects changes in the light from a select group of stars has discovered 11 new planetary systems, hosting a total of 26 confirmed planets. These discoveries nearly double the number of verified planets and triple the number of stars known to have more than one planet that transits or passes in front of the star. Such systems will help astronomers better understand how planets form.
It wasn't something you see every day. The HU-25C Guardian, which had been at a Coast Guard base in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, was about to join NASA Langley's fleet in Hampton, Virginia, for its first NASA airborne mission, doing atmospheric research.
So there's just a big step forward in tech capability in power, range, altitude, speed, and weight that we can carry that we could not carry before.
The Guardian's first NASA mission is scheduled for Greenland.
Scientists say the extent of the sea ice covering the Arctic Ocean has shrunk. Researchers from NASA and the NASA-supported National Snow and Ice Data Center in Boulder, Colorado, say the amount of Arctic ice is the smallest observed in the 3 decades since consistent satellite observations of the polar cap began. The thickness of the sea ice cover also continues to decrease.
New findings by NASA's Interstellar Boundary Explorer, or IBEX spacecraft, are helping scientists fill holes in our knowledge about the matter found between the stars in our Milky Way galaxy. IBEX, whose primary focus has been the interaction between our solar system and what lies beyond, has directly sampled multiple heavy elements within the interstellar medium, the same materials of which stars, planets, even people are made.
NASA's Radiation Belt Space Probes mission, RBSP, has been renamed.
The National Aeronautics and Space Administration is pleased to announce the decision to rename the Radiation Belt Storm Probes mission Van Allen Probes.
The new name, announced during an event at the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory, is for James Van Allen, the scientist who discovered the radiation belts surrounding the Earth. Launched on August 30th and managed by the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory, the newly renamed twin probes continue to follow each other in the same orbit around the planet. The data they return about how the Van Allen belts behave during solar storms will help scientists and engineers design more robust satellites and safer spacecraft, as well as stronger safeguards for communication systems and other critical technologies here on Earth. The mission of NASA's moon-orbiting GRAIL probes comes to an end on December 17th, with the twin spacecraft deorbiting to the lunar surface. The probes, Ebb and Flow, have generated a map of the moon's gravity field said to be the highest resolution of any celestial body. The map and other GRAIL data are enlightening scientists about the moon's internal structure and composition, and how Earth and other rocky planets in the solar system formed and evolved.
The Goddard Space Flight Center recently took delivery of the first 2 of 18 beryllium primary mirror segments for NASA's James Webb Space Telescope. Ball Aerospace in Boulder, Colorado shipped the 2 mirrors in custom containers. The remaining 16 mirrors will likewise make their way from Boulder to Goddard over the next 12 months and will be integrated into the telescope in 2015. The Webb, NASA's next great observatory, is on track for launch in October 2018.
The Newseum in Washington, D.C. served as the site of a joint news conference by NASA and the U.S. Geological Survey to highlight 40 years' worth of accomplishments by Landsat, the world's longest-running Earth-observing satellite program.
No other satellite program in our country or in any other nation in the world comes close to having the historical length and breadth and the continuity and the coverage of the Landsat archive.
I'm Tanya Anderson at the Space Telescope Science Institute in Baltimore, Maryland, where we bring the stars down to Earth. Every day, NASA's Hubble Space Telescope photographs the wonders of the universe. These wonders inspire the next generation of explorers. You're watching This Year at NASA.
With a new set of space technology roadmaps as a guide, NASA's Office of the Chief Technologist and the Space Technology Program continue to make great strides in creating the new knowledge and capabilities needed for NASA's current and future missions. A large inflatable heat shield developed by NASA's Space Technology Program at Langley Research Center has successfully survived a trip through Earth's atmosphere while traveling at hypersonic speeds up to 7,600 miles per hour. ERV-3, the inflatable re-entry vehicle experiment, was launched by sounding rocket from NASA's Wallops Flight Facility, inflated as expected to a mushroom shape almost 10 feet in diameter, returned safely through Earth's atmosphere at hypersonic speeds, and fell into the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of North Carolina. The test demonstrated that a space capsule can use an inflatable outer shell to slow and protect itself during planetary entry and descent.
Deputy Administrator Lori Garver joined Glenn Research Center Director Ray Lugo, congressional leaders, and White House representatives at Ohio's Cuyahoga Community College near Cleveland for a workshop on building the national network for manufacturing innovation.
Advanced manufacturing capabilities are essential to turning research discoveries, inventions, and new ideas into better or novel products. Our nation's ability to innovate is unmatched.
NASA Chief Technologist Mason Peck joined state and local officials at the University of Texas at El Paso for the official opening of UTEP's Center for Space Exploration Technology Research, or CSTER, and the NASA Science, Engineering, Mathematics, and Aerospace Education Laboratory, located in the university's engineering building.
It's the kind of collaborative activity that we now at NASA recognize as essential to how we are trying to form the future of space technology at the agency.
NASA and the Florida Institute for Human and Machine Cognition of Pensacola have jointly developed a robotic exoskeleton called X1. The 57-pound device is a robot that a human can put on to assist or inhibit movement in leg joints. In space, It could be set to supply resistance for exercising. On the ground, it could help someone walk for the first time.
Deputy Administrator Lori Garver opened NASA's Sample Return Robot Centennial Challenge at the Worcester Polytechnic Institute in Worcester, Massachusetts.
These technologies don't build themselves, these rockets don't build themselves, it's all about people. It is the people throughout the agency and our contractor community and our academic partners who help us create the future.
More than 600 people attended NASA Technology Days at Cleveland's Public Auditorium in Ohio. Associate Administrator Robert Lightfoot joined other NASA officials and the city's mayor at the three-day event. Technology demonstrations, informative speeches, and poster sessions celebrated cutting-edge research and technology development available to industry and universities.
NASA Deputy Administrator Lori Garver visited the NASA Shared Services Center at Stennis Space Center. The NSSC provides support to NASA in the areas of human resources, financial management, procurement, information technology, and business support services. Garver was briefed by senior leadership on the latest NSSC initiatives, including the now fully operational Enterprise Service Desk that supports employees agency-wide. Small regional companies and government agencies near the Michoud Assembly Facility that may want to help develop and support the SLS were hosted at Contact 2012. 73 companies exhibited their services at the networking event, co-sponsored by NASA, the Louisiana Small Business Administration, and Jacobs Technology.
NASA Administrator Charles Bolden and Small Business Programs Associate Administrator Glenn Delgado, seen here on the far right, presented the annual Small Business Administrators Cup Award to Stennis Space Center in recognition of its stellar small business program. The award recognizes successful and innovative practices promoting small business participation in NASA initiatives.
Hi, I'm Gary Benton, and we're at the A1 test stand at NASA's Stennis Space Center, where we're testing J2X engine components for NASA's Space Launch System rocket, which will provide human exploration beyond Earth's orbit. You're watching This Year at NASA.
In 2012, NASA and educators continued stressing to students how science, technology, engineering, and math can not only lead to successful careers in America's space program, but also can be fun.
String and hold it like this between your feet.
NASA teamed up with Vanderbilt University's Dyer Observatory in Brentwood, Tennessee, to host a Summer of Innovation event for rising 5th and 6th graders from the Nashville area. The students enjoyed hands-on Mars-related activities and got to speak with NASA Associate Administrator for Education and former astronaut Leland Melvin. Summer of Innovation aims to inspire and engage middle school students in science, technology, engineering, and math, the STEM fields. This is the second year Dyer Observatory has partnered with NASA for Summer of Innovation.
The MoonCam camera aboard Ebb, one of NASA's twin gravity recovery and interior laboratory, or GRAIL spacecraft, has returned its first unique view of the far side of the lunar surface. MoonCam, for Moon Knowledge acquired by middle school students, will be used by students nationwide to study lunar images.
America's space agency has crowned its vehicular engineering victors for the 19th annual NASA Great Moon Buggy Race at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, Alabama. The winning teams outraced more than 80 teams from 20 states, Puerto Rico, Canada, Germany, India, Italy, Russia, and the United Arab Emirates. Organized by NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center, the race challenges students to design, build, and race lightweight human-powered buggies.
Two groups, girls and underserved school districts.
Thanks to the enterprising efforts of a Bay Area high school student, she and 50 of her fellow students at their all-girls school heard from experts about STEM field careers women can pursue at NASA. Deepika Bhattapati, a high school senior at Presentation High School in San Jose, had written the White House about the disparity of opportunities for girls interested in pursuing careers in science, technology, engineering, and math. After her note made its way to the Ames Research Center, 7 scientists, administrators, and managers, all of them women, volunteered to meet with the students and share stories about their careers, education, and keys to success. About 150 students from 18 schools in Mississippi and Louisiana got an inside look at the Stennis Space Center during a Women's History Month event. The outing was part of the GEMS program for girls excited about math and science. The students were treated to activities and workshops, including a fashion show that featured business attire, an introduction to information technology, a cryogenics demonstration, and details about college and career planning.
Educators from across the country visited Johnson Space Center to fly experiments in microgravity. During the flights, a modified aircraft flew parabolic arcs that simulate weightlessness. The opportunity was provided by 3 NASA education initiatives designed to spark interest in science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM.
Hello from the base of the world's longest microgravity drop tower. I'm Nancy Rebel Hall, a research scientist at the Glenn Research Center here in the Zero Gravity Research Facility, where we continue to unlock the mysteries of microgravity. You're watching This Year at NASA.
In 2012, NASA Aero continued its world leadership in the pursuit of the fastest, safest, most quiet, and fuel-efficient aircraft possible.
Researchers from Cal Poly State University in San Luis Obispo, California, recently tested a future aircraft concept model called Amelia, the advanced model for extreme lift and improved aeroacoustics. The 1/11th scale model with a 10-foot wingspan was tested in the National Full-Scale Aerodynamic Complex at the Ames Research Center. Amelia is designed as an efficient 150-passenger airliner capable of short takeoffs and landings.
The Waveforms and Sonic Boom Perception and Response Project gathered data from more than 100 volunteer Edwards residents about their reactions to low-noise booms created by NASA FA-18 test aircraft.
With Whisper, we're trying to get a readback from the people on the ground to some kind of annoyance level. How annoying was this low boom? How annoying was this more moderate boom?
NASA's Supersonics project is embarking on a new effort to characterize that fainter side of sonic booms in the Far-Field Investigation of No Boom Threshold Project, or FAINT.
They tend to be a lot quieter, probably about 5 to 10 times quieter than your normal in-wave sonic boom. NASA's always trying to push research, push boundaries, and one of the things we're trying to do is to bring commercial supersonic travel to the world.
Out at Edwards Air Force Base near the Dryden Flight Research Center, the remotely piloted X-48C aircraft successfully got its first flight under its aeronautical belt. The X-48C is an X-48B blended wing body aircraft that's been modified to evaluate the low speed, stability, and control of a low-noise version of a possible future hybrid wing body design. The HWB design stems from NASA's N+2 Future Concepts studies under the agency's Environmentally Responsible Aviation Project.
Aero Day on the Hill provided an opportunity for representatives of NASA's Aeronautics Research Mission Directorate to visit Capitol Hill and brief members of Congress on the research the agency is conducting to make air transportation more efficient, safe, and environmentally friendly.
We are setting the vision for the country, and we are leading the aeronautics community. So it's all about direct, tangible, compelling benefit that you can enjoy today and years to come.
Hi, I'm Scott Colorado, Chief Architect for Ground Systems and Development and Operations at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. I'm at Launch Complex 39B, where we are building a launch complex for the future, and you are watching This Year at NASA.
With the final flight of the Space Shuttle program in 2011, the shuttles themselves were delivered in 2012 to their new homes to begin a new chapter in their careers, inspiring museum goers of all ages.
Escorted by a NASA T-38 jet, Space Shuttle Discovery, atop the NASA 905 shuttle carrier aircraft, made its much-anticipated arrival in the Washington, D.C. metro area.
I got goosebumps. I was watching it through my my telephoto lens as it went over the Lincoln Monument down here, and really impressed me emotionally.
Today, we turn Discovery over to the Smithsonian with great expectation that, as we have always done, NASA will continue to inspire the young people of today and tomorrow to dream of space, to dream of uncovering the secrets of the universe, and take steps to pursue the careers that will make them the exploration leaders of tomorrow.
Space Shuttle Enterprise concluded its voyage when NASA's first space shuttle made its much-anticipated arrival by way of barge on the Hudson River to its new home, the Intrepid Sea, Air, and Space Museum.
It is a great day for NASA, for America, and for the people who live here in Southern California. The fact that the space shuttles were developed here, built here just down the road, and Endeavour is coming back on our last ferry flight on the 747 is a wonderful thing.
Space Shuttle Endeavour began the final leg of its journey, a two-day, 12-mile parade through the streets of LA to the California Science Center. Endeavour's route took it past several well-known landmarks, was captured from above by the Goodyear blimp, and was witnessed by thousands upon thousands of Angelinos who came out for a peek at NASA's youngest space shuttle.
Meanwhile, Atlantis, the last NASA space shuttle to fly in space, also became the last to be officially retired. Beginning at the Kennedy Space Center's Vehicle Assembly Building, Atlantis rolled the 10 miles to the KSC Visitor Complex, where it will go on permanent public display.
It is my sincere hope that one day some young boy or girl is going to look at Atlantis and it's going to spark that dream of exploration in space.
Hi, this is Becky Dubasan, Deputy Director at the NASA Shared Services Center, where we strive each and every day to provide timely, accurate, customer-focused support to NASA. You're watching This Year at NASA.
This Year at NASA saw America's space agency broaden its connection to the American people through its award-winning web-based and social media programs.
NASA's first multiplayer online game to test players' knowledge of the space program has been launched into orbit on Facebook. Space Race Blastoff questions players about NASA history, technology, science, and pop culture.
We really hope this will reach a different audience, an audience that may not be that interested in, say, coming to the website and reading a long feature story, but wants to sort of test itself out against how much they already know.
Astronaut Joe Acava shared recollections and a video about his stay aboard the ISS with 150 social media followers at NASA headquarters in Washington.
It's a cool experience, and you don't come back the same, and it's like any life experience. It can't help but to change you and to change your perspective on the world.
NASA television helped observe the last transit of Venus we'll see here on Earth until 2117 by showcasing live streaming websites the world over, including observations made by scientists in Central Australia.
There are just a few clouds in the sky, and we are set up for an absolutely gorgeous first and second contact.
And by the NASA EDGE team, stationed atop the Mauna Kea Observatory in Hawaii.
I'm not gonna look until I put my blinders down. Yes. And now, well, of course, now I can't see anything.
Scientists at NASA headquarters also provided information and insight about this rare yet predictable celestial phenomenon that has captivated humankind for millennia.
The interest and reaction generated worldwide by Curiosity's trek to and landing on the Red Planet has been phenomenal. People in New York City's Times Square watched a giant screen and listened on Third Rock Radio to NASA television's coverage of the vehicle's 7-minute, 13,000 to 0 miles per hour plunge to the surface of Mars. NASA TV also had more than 1.2 million people watching on nasa.gov. Among those instrumental in Curiosity's success are American small businesses. One company, ATA Engineering, hosted a Google Plus Hangout with NASA Administrator Charlie Bolden and Small Business Administration Administrator Karen Mills. A Google Plus Hangout is a group video chat. The Herndon, Virginia firm partnered with NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory to test and analyze Curiosity's entry, descent, and landing. The Kennedy Space Center has been Googled. In celebration of the center's 50th anniversary, KSC and Google Maps with Street View are providing space enthusiasts with virtual tours of the cavernous Vehicle Assembly Building, Launch Pad 39A, and other unique facilities used to help launch humans to the moon and space shuttles to low Earth orbit. You can now use the internet and a smartphone for an inside look at the groundbreaking science and technology research being done on board the International Space Station. Log on to the agency's Space Station Live webpage or download the companion ISS Live mobile app to get up-to-the-minute information on experiments NASA astronauts are conducting 240 miles in space for the benefit of all on Earth. The highly anticipated Angry Birds Space is out. Produced by Rovio in cooperation with NASA, the game is not only charming and challenging, but also informing players worldwide about the physics of microgravity. In the course of play, gamers are treated to a glimpse of the NASA meatball atop the International Space Station.
I'm standing at the Landing and Impact Dynamics Research Facility here at NASA's Langley Research Center in Hampton, Virginia. Hi, I'm Susan Gorton, the Rotor Wing Project Manager. The testing and analysis that we do in our project makes helicopters faster, quieter, safer, and more efficient. And you're watching This Year at NASA.
2012 was also a year of change for NASA, marked by the retirement of two spaceflight stalwarts, astronauts Jerry Ross and Shannon Lucid. And sadly, 2012 also saw the passing of others near and dear to NASA.
Ralph McQuarrie, whose sci-fi artwork was featured in major motion pictures and hit TV series, has died. He was 82. McQuarrie's creations included Star Wars characters Darth Vader, Chewbacca, R2-D2, and C-3PO, and the mothership of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Near and dear to NASA is the animation McQuarrie produced for CBS News of Apollo 11's landing on the moon in 1969.
The future of mankind depends upon space travel, and we'll get away from war. If we stay on Earth, we'll go on having wars. But if we go to the moon and Mars, we'll bind ourselves together into one single race, one color, and go into space and live forever.
The NASA family is mourning the loss of retired astronaut Alan Poindexter. Poindexter, a captain in the U.S. Navy, flew on 2 space shuttle missions. He was the pilot of Atlantis on STS-122 in 2008, and in 2010 served as commander on board Discovery during STS-131.
It meant a lot to me to have the opportunity to go into space, and it meant a lot to me to be the first woman that was chosen.
When Sally Ride passed away recently at age 61, she left a legacy of accomplishment and inspiration. As the first American woman in space, Ride proved there was nothing to which a young girl could not aspire. And as a former astronaut, she continued to reassure young women, and young men too, that careers in science and exploration can be exciting, fun, and rewarding. NASA Administrator Charles Bolden joined other agency officials and dignitaries at the Washington National Cathedral to honor the life and career of astronaut Neil Armstrong, the first man to walk on the moon, who died August 25th.
Neil Armstrong left more than footprints and a flag on the moon. In fact, as President Obama said in a letter, future generations will draw inspiration from his spirit of discovery. The imprint he left on the surface of the moon and the story of human history is matched only by the extraordinary mark he left on the hearts of all Americans.
Fate looked down kindly on us when she chose Neil to be the first to venture to another world and to have the opportunity to look back from space at the beauty of our own. No one could have accepted the responsibility of his remarkable accomplishment with more dignity and more grace than Neil Armstrong.
Farewell, yes, but never forgotten. The inspiration of those spaceflight pioneers lives on in each remarkable achievement, special spaceflight moment, and instance of NASA's awesomeness, like these of 2012.
It's one small step for man.
Responding to public demand, NASA has created a companion image to its new Blue Marble picture of Earth in stunning high definition. Blue Marble 2012 is a composite image captured during 6 separate orbits by the Suomi National Polar Orbiting Partnership Satellite, or Suomi NPP. The original Blue Marble was photographed by the crew of Apollo 17 as they traveled to the Moon in 1972.
So man meets machine aboard the International Space Station.
Another first inside the space station. Expedition 30 Commander Dan Burbank and Robonaut completed the first handshake between a humanoid robot and an astronaut in space. Robonaut is designed with the dexterity to complete work in space typically performed by humans.
The Kennedy Space Center hosted several events to celebrate 50 years of Americans in orbit.
Roger, the clock is operating. We're underway.
John Glenn, the first to achieve the goal, made his 3-orbit flight in Friendship 7 on February 20th, 1962.
It's been 50 years. It's hard for me to believe that. It seems like just a couple of weeks ago to me.
3 months later, fellow Mercury astronaut Scott Carpenter followed Glenn with his flight aboard Aurora 7 on May 24th, 1962.
The discovery of a dinosaur track on the campus of Goddard Space Flight Center has scientists abuzz about the area's ancient past.
And I love the paradox. Here, space scientists may walk along here, and they're walking exactly where this big, bungling, heavy, armored dinosaur walked maybe 110, 112 million years ago.
Weems says there's a much smaller, similar-looking footprint inside the larger one, made perhaps by a young nodosaur who was traveling with an adult.
This probably was a breeding area for many of them based on so many small ones being found.
But such well-preserved adult nodosaur tracks are rare on the East Coast and make this such a unique find.
He's been to infinity and beyond. But now Buzz Lightyear is at the Smithsonian's National Air and Space Museum's Moving Beyond Earth Gallery. The action figure, which flew on Space Shuttle Discovery to the International Space Station in 2008, was donated to the museum. Video taken from the International Space Station documents the May 20th annular solar eclipse. While flying at about 240 statute miles above Earth, NASA astronaut Don Pettit captured the moon's shadow being cast on the planet below as the moon lined up between the sun and the Earth.
Last year, Irish-American astronaut Katie Coleman celebrated her St. Patrick's Day playing 2 Irish instruments while she orbited the Earth aboard the International Space Station. This year, Coleman was on center stage at the Kennedy Center in Washington to return the antique wooden flute and shiny tin whistle to its owners, internationally acclaimed recording artist Paddy Maloney and the Chieftains.
And here she was talking and she was showing the flute and everything was floating and her hair was sticking up. It was magic. I mean, I couldn't believe it.
Hi, I'm Stephen Colbert, and you're watching This Year at NASA on NASA TV.
And that's This Year at NASA.
For more on these and other stories, or to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and other social media, log on to www.nasa.gov.
May your holidays be happy and bright, and our 2013 a success.